Captain Samantha Collins stood tall on the bridge of the USS Endeavour, her blue uniform pressed and perfect. Today was the day humanity would meet aliens for the first time. Real aliens. Not the stuff of old movies, but actual beings from other worlds. "Status report," she said, her voice steady despite her racing heart. Lieutenant Eric Martinez looked up from his station. "All systems normal, Captain. The Galactic Concordat vessel will dock in 15 minutes. Samantha nodded. She had been chosen for this mission because of her calm under pressure. 20 years in the Navy and 5 commanding ships in space had prepared her for many things, but not for this. No human could be prepared for first contact. "Communications. Check," she said. Lisa Patel turned in her chair. "Translation systems are online, Captain. The language data they sent is loaded and ready." The year was 2157. Earth had changed much in the last century. Rising seas had reshaped coastlines. Nations had joined together under the United Earth government after realizing no single country could face these challenges alone. Humans had spread to Mars and the moons of Jupiter and Saturn. They had been alone in their solar system until now. 3 months ago, a signal had reached Earth from a passing ship. The Galactic Concordat, they called themselves, an alliance of 17 different alien species who shared the stars. They wished to meet the newest spacefaring race. The ship shuddered slightly as the alien vessel connected to their docking port. "They're here," Eric said, his voice low with awe. Samantha straightened her jacket. "Lieutenant Martinez, Officer Patel with me. Let's go meet our guests." The 3 officers walked through the bright corridors of the ship to the main airlock. Crew members stopped to watch them pass, eyes wide with excitement and fear. The airlock door slid open with a soft hiss. Samantha had seen pictures of the aliens, but nothing prepared her for seeing them in person. Admiral Zexatur stood nearly 7 feet tall. His body was covered in a hard shell like a giant insect. 4 arms were folded across his chest, and his large eyes seemed to take in everything at once. Behind him stood 6 other aliens of different species. Some had scales, others fur, and one seemed to be made of something like rock. "Welcome aboard the USS Endeavour," Samantha said, bowing slightly. The translation device on her collar beeped once and repeated her words in a series of clicks and whistles. Admiral Zexatur's head tilted. "We accept your welcome, Captain Collins." His voice came through her earpiece in English. "The Concordat is pleased to make official contact with your species." The delegation moved to the ship's conference room. Large windows showed the blue curve of Earth below them. The aliens seemed to avoid looking at it. "Your planet has much water," said one of the smaller aliens, their voice nervous through the translator. "Yes," Samantha replied. "Nearly 70% of our surface is ocean." The aliens exchanged glances. "And you can survive near such quantities of liquid?" asked Admiral Zexatur. Eric looked confused. "Of course, most of our major cities are on coastlines." The rock-like alien made a sound that the translator didn't catch. "Fascinating," said Zexatur. "Most sentient species we have encountered evolved on dry worlds. Large bodies of water are uncommon in the galaxy, at least on habitable planets." Lisa leaned forward. "Are you saying you don't have oceans?" "My world has small seas," Zexatur replied, "but nothing like yours. Many of our member species see large water bodies as death zones. We have cataloged thousands of planets we consider uninhabitable due to excessive water coverage." Samantha tried to hide her surprise. "Those worlds might be perfect for human colonies." The mood in the room changed instantly. The alien stiffened. "You would claim water worlds?" asked a furry alien with 6 eyes. "They are worthless." "Not to us," Eric said. "We've been looking for planets with water. They're ideal for our needs." "Admiral," Zexatur's mandibles clicked. "This is unexpected. Perhaps you are not as similar to standard sentient life as we first thought." The diplomatic meeting continued for hours. The aliens shared information about their 17 worlds and hundreds of colonies. They spoke of trade routes and alliances, of resources and technology, but they kept returning to their amazement at humans living so close to vast water. Later, The delegation toured the ship. When they reached the recreation deck, Eric suggested showing them the pool. "What is a pool?" asked Zextur. "A small contained body of water for exercise and fun," Eric explained as he led them through the door. The Olympic-sized pool gleamed under bright lights. Several crew members were swimming laps. The effect on the aliens was immediate. They backed away, some making high-pitched sounds of distress. "They are submersed in the liquid," gasped one alien. "Are they dying?" "No," said Samantha, surprised by their reaction. "They're swimming. It's something most humans learn as children." "Impossible," whispered Zextur. "No intelligent species would voluntarily enter a drowning medium." Eric smiled. "Would you like a demonstration?" Without waiting for an answer, he stripped off his uniform jacket and shoes, revealing the swimming shorts he wore underneath. Before the aliens could object, he dove into the deep end with a perfect racing dive. The aliens cried out in alarm. One turned away as if unable to watch. Eric surfaced with a smile and began swimming freestyle across the pool, his strong arms cutting through the water with practiced ease. Lieutenant Martinez was a competitive swimmer before joining the Navy, Samantha explained to the shocked aliens. He represented North America in the global games. Zextur's large eyes tracked Eric's progress across the pool. "Remarkable. He moves through it as if born to it." "In a way, we were," Lisa said quietly. "Human babies can swim instinctively. Some scientists believe we evolved from sea creatures millions of years ago." When Eric climbed out of the pool, water streaming from his body, the aliens remained at a safe distance. But their fear had changed to something else. Samantha recognized it as respect, maybe even awe. "Your species has an unusual capability," Admiral Zextur said formally. "This changes many calculations." That evening, after the aliens had returned to their ship, Samantha met with her officers. "They're afraid of water," Eric said, still amazed. "An entire galactic civilization that avoids water planets." Lisa nodded. "And they've been ignoring worlds that might be perfect for us." Samantha looked out the window at Earth below, its blue, oceans shimmering in the sunlight. "Do you realize what this means?" she asked quietly. "There could be thousands of habitable planets out there that no one has claimed. Worlds with oceans and resources just waiting for us." Eric smiled. "And all, because we can swim." "Not just that," Samantha said. "We've found our place in the galaxy. Something unique we can offer. Those water worlds they've been avoiding, we can help explore and develop them." The three officers stood in silence, watching their blue planet turn beneath them. The future suddenly seemed full of strange new possibilities. Humanity had found its unexpected strength among the stars. 5 months after first contact, the human delegation stood before the Galactic Concordat Council. The circular chamber held representatives from all 17 alien species. Giant screens showed the blue-green planet called Proxima b. "This world is 4.2 light-years from Earth," said Ambassador Daniel Johnson. "Your record's listed as uninhabitable, but we believe it's perfect for human settlement." The council chamber filled with buzzing and clicking as the aliens discussed among themselves. Admiral Zextur raised one of his forehands for silence. "Proxima b is 78% covered in liquid water," he said. "The remaining land is merely scattered islands. No sensible species would attempt to live there." Dr. Olivia Wright stepped forward. Her brown hair was tied back in a practical ponytail, and she spoke with quiet confidence. "With respect, Admiral, what you call uninhabitable, we call home. Earth has a similar water-to-land ratio. We've evolved alongside oceans for millions of years." Several aliens made sounds that the translators interpreted as disbelief. Vendral, an insectoid scientist, rose from her seat. "The reports from your vessel were interesting. But swimming in a small contained pool is very different from surviving on a water world." Ambassador Johnson smiled. "That's why we're requesting exclusive rights to explore and potentially colonize Proxima b. Let us prove what humans can do." The council debated for hours. Finally, Admiral Zextur announced their decision. The Concordat. grants humans exclusive rights to attempt exploration of Proxima b. If you succeed in establishing a permanent presence there, we will recognize your claim to the planet. 3 weeks later, the USS Poseidon approached Proxima b. The specialized ship carried the best marine scientists and explorers Earth could offer. Dr. Olivia Wright stood on the observation deck, watching the blue planet grow larger in the view screen. "It's beautiful," she whispered. Kevin Garcia joined her by the window. The former Navy SEAL had dark eyes that had seen much during his years of service. "Reminds me of the Pacific," he said. "Same deep blue." Olivia nodded. "But with unknown creatures? Beneath the surface. Everything we find here will be new to science." The landing party prepared their equipment: advanced diving gear, underwater research tools, and materials for building the first habitat were loaded onto shuttles. A small group of alien observers watched with obvious nervousness. "They still think we're going to drown," Kevin said as he checked his diving gear. "Then let's show them what humans can do in water," Olivia replied. The first shuttle landed on the largest island of Proxima b. The team stepped out onto alien soil for the first time. The air was breathable but had a salty tang. Waves crashed against rocky shores nearby. "First readings show the water has similar salinity to Earth's oceans," Olivia said, checking her instruments. "Temperature is within comfortable diving range." The team set up base camp while the alien observers stayed well away from the shoreline. Kevin led the first diving team to explore the coastal waters. "Comms check," he said, adjusting his mask. "Reading you clear," replied the base camp operator. Kevin and 3 other divers walked into the alien ocean. The water felt slightly thicker than Earth's but otherwise familiar. They submerged and began their survey. What they found amazed them. Forests of purple plant-like organisms swayed in the currents. Schools of creatures that resembled a cross between fish and crabs moved in perfect unison. Deeper down, bioluminescent life forms created patterns of light that seemed almost like communication. "Are you seeing this?" Kevin asked through his comm unit. "Every second is being recorded," Olivia confirmed from base camp. "The biological diversity is incredible." For 3 days, the humans explored the coastal waters, mapping and cataloging what they found. On the 4th day, disaster struck. Vendral, the alien scientist, had insisted on observing from a hover platform above the water. A sudden storm blew in from the west, catching everyone by surprise. Lightning struck the platform's propulsion system, sending it crashing into the choppy sea a half-mile from shore. Alarms blared through the camp. On screen, they could see Vendral's platform sinking. The alien was trapped inside, her terror visible even from a distance. "She'll drown," Olivia said. "Their species can't survive water immersion for more than a few minutes." Kevin was already running for the shore, grabbing an emergency breathing apparatus on the way. "Tell her to stay calm. I'm coming." The aliens at camp watched in shock as Kevin dove into the angry waves and began swimming toward the sinking platform. The storm made the water rough, but Kevin pushed through with powerful strokes. Reaching the platform, he dove beneath the surface. The craft was filling with water quickly. Through the transparent material, he could see Vendral pressed against the ceiling, her limbs shaking in panic. Kevin found the emergency hatch and forced it open. Water rushed in faster. He swam inside and reached for the terrified alien. At first she fought him, her instincts telling her that the water meant certain death. Kevin held up the breathing apparatus, gesturing for her to let him put it on her. Moments later, they emerged from the sinking platform. Kevin held Vendral with one arm, keeping her head above water as he began the long swim back to shore. By the time they reached the beach, all the aliens were gathered, watching in disbelief as a human carried one of their scientists through what they had always considered a deadly environment. Kevin laid Vendral gently on the sand. The alien coughed and shuddered but was alive. "You went into death to save me," she said when she could speak again. "It's not death to us," Kevin said simply. "It's just another place we can go." That evening, the alien observers requested to send video of the rescue to the Concordat Council. The footage spread quickly across alien networks. The image of a human swimming through storm waters to save an alien changed perceptions throughout the galaxy. 2 days later, Admiral Zexatur himself arrived at Proxima B to see the human colony efforts. "Your people have proven something remarkable," he told Olivia and Kevin. "Not just that you can survive in water, but that you can thrive in it. And more importantly, that you would risk yourselves in it to save others." Olivia looked out over the alien ocean. "This is just the beginning. We've already found minerals and biological compounds here that don't exist on Earth. Imagine what we might discover on other water worlds." Admiral Zexatur's translator conveyed his thoughtful tone. "There are thousands of planets like this one that my people have never explored. Worlds we thought useless that might hold great value. Maybe we can help each other," Kevin suggested. "You have the galactic maps and technology. We have the ability to go where you cannot." The sun set over Proxima B, casting orange light across the endless waters. On the beach, humans and aliens stood together, watching the waves that represented death to one species and possibility to another. The first underwater habitat was already under construction in the bay. Soon, humans would be living beneath the alien sea, proving that what had once been considered uninhabitable could become home. 5 years passed since the first human colony was established on Proxima B. Now humans had underwater settlements on 6 different water worlds. Each planet had been considered worthless by the Galactic Concordat before humans arrived. Now, these worlds were changing the balance of power across known space. Trade Commissioner Alan Phillips stood at the window of his office on Proxima B. Through the thick glass, he could see the vast underwater city that had grown from the first small habitat. Humans in diving gear swam alongside submersibles outside. Some tended the underwater farms where new food crops grew. Others worked on expanding the city's outer sections. A soft chime announced a visitor. Alan turned to see Ryan Cooper, the UEG ambassador to the Concordat, entering the room. "Welcome to Proxima B, Ambassador," Alan said, shaking his hand. "How was your journey?" Ryan looked tired but pleased. "Long but worth it. The new water drives cut the travel time in half." Alan smiled. This was another human innovation made possible by their water worlds. The plants from Proxima B's oceans produced a fuel that worked better than anything the Concordat had discovered in centuries of space travel. "The Concordat Council is meeting tomorrow," Ryan said. "They want to discuss our expansion to more water planets." Alan frowned. "We're following all the agreements. These were worlds no one wanted." "Not everyone sees it that way anymore," Ryan replied. "Now that they know the value of these planets, some species are having second thoughts, especially the Craxid." The Craxid were a reptilian species known for their aggressive expansion and distrust of other races. They had been particularly vocal about their concerns over human control of water worlds. "General Rodriguez should be here for this discussion," Alan said. "Her security teams have reported suspicious activity near our newer colonies." Michelle Rodriguez was the military commander in charge of protecting the human water settlements. A tough woman with 20 years of military experience, she had been warning about potential threats for months. In her office across the colony, Michelle was reviewing security footage. Her dark eyes narrowed as she studied the images on her screen. "Play it again," she ordered her assistant. The video showed a Craxid vessel approaching the underwater habitat on Europa, a moon of Jupiter that had a vast ocean under its icy surface. The ship departed quickly when human patrols approached. "They're testing our defenses," Michelle said. "This is the 3rd sighting this month." Her communication panel lit up. "General Rodriguez, we have an emergency broadcast from Aquarius Colony. Aquarius was the newest human water settlement, established just 6 months ago around a planet 40 light-years from Earth." The screen showed a young officer, his face tense. "General, we've detected unusual energy signatures near the colony. Our sensors indicate possible explosive devices." Michelle's expression hardened. "Evacuate the outer sections immediately. I'm sending reinforcements." She ended the call and contacted both Alan and Ryan. "Gentlemen, we have a situation." While General Rodriguez mobilized her forces, Ambassador Ryan Cooper prepared for an emergency meeting with the Concordat Council. He had to address the growing tension before it erupted into open conflict. The Grand Council chamber was filled with representatives from all 17 member species. Grand Admiral Klavatok, the leader of the Kraxid delegation, stood to speak. The humans have claimed 6 water worlds in just 5 years, he said, his scaled face showing no emotion. At this rate, they will control hundreds of planets within a generation. Planets that could hold resources vital to all our species. Ryan stepped forward. These were worlds your own records listed as uninhabitable. We've developed them using human ingenuity and adaptation. The resources we've discovered are being traded fairly with all concordant members. The chamber filled with sounds as different species voiced their opinions. Some supported the humans, especially those who had benefited from trade with the water colonies. Others shared the Kraxid's concerns. The issue is not just about resources, Klavatok continued. How do we know the humans won't use their control of these worlds against us? They could cut off supply of the water-based fuels we now depend on. Before Ryan could respond, an aide rushed in and whispered urgently in his ear. His face paled. I apologize, Ryan said to the council, but I've just received word that one of our colonies is under attack. Screens around the chamber activated, showing live footage from Aquarius colony. Explosions rocked the underwater habitat. Sections were flooding. Human emergency teams were swimming through the water trying to seal breaches and evacuate civilians. Who would do this? Asked Admiral Zek's Tour, his mandibles clicking in agitation. Ryan looked directly at Klavatok. We have evidence suggesting Kraxid involvement. The reptilian admiral's scales darkened in what might have been anger or guilt. These are serious accusations without proof. On the screens, the situation at Aquarius was growing worse. A large explosion had damaged the main life support systems. Water was rushing into the central hub where many colonists had gathered. Then something unexpected happened. Instead of panic, the humans organized. Civilians put on emergency breathing gear. Those without equipment were guided by others who could hold their breath longer. They weren't fighting against the water, they were using it. General Rodriguez's voice came over the communication system. All personnel, Flood Protocol Alpha. I repeat, Flood Protocol Alpha. To the astonishment of the alien council members, the humans began deliberately flooding remaining sections of the colony. Rather than fighting to keep the water out, they were letting it in a controlled manner. What are they doing? Asked one council member. Ryan explained calmly. It's easier to equalize the pressure than fight against it. Once the sections are fully flooded, our rescue teams can swim freely through the colony without worrying about structural collapse. The aliens watched in amazement as human rescue teams swam through flooded corridors, carrying children and helping those who couldn't swim well. What would have been a death sentence for any other species was just a challenging environment for humans. Hours later, when the emergency was over, the council reconvened. Every single colonist from Aquarius had survived. The footage of humans swimming through the flooded colony, saving lives and remaining calm in what the aliens considered a drowning disaster, had been broadcast across the galaxy. Admiral Zextur addressed the council. Today we have witnessed something remarkable. The humans have proven that their adaptation to water environments is not just a curiosity. It is a profound evolutionary advantage. He turned to Ambassador Cooper. We also have confirmation that a rogue faction of the Kraxid was indeed responsible for this attack. Grand Admiral Klavatok has offered his resignation and his government's apologies. Ryan nodded in acceptance. We don't seek conflict. We only want to develop worlds that can benefit everyone. The resources of water planets should be shared, not hoarded. As the meeting concluded, Ryan received a message from Earth. The United Earth government had approved funding for 20 new water colonies. Thousands of volunteers were signing up for the opportunity to live beneath alien seas. The attack had backfired completely. Instead of frightening humans away from water worlds, it had showcased their unique abilities. Throughout the galaxy, the image of humans swimming through disaster had changed perceptions forever. What was once seen as a weakness evolving on a water world was now recognized as humanity's greatest strength. The colony on Europa was the pride of humanity's water world settlements. Beneath the icy surface of Jupiter's moon, Humans had built a vast underwater city. Glowing domes and transparent tunnels stretched across the dark seabed. Fish-like creatures native to Europa's ocean swam alongside human divers outside the colony walls. Governor William Chen looked out from his office window at the underwater city he governed. 5 years of hard work had turned this alien ocean into a home for over 10,000 people. "Beautiful view, isn't it?" he said to Commander Nicole Taylor, who stood beside him. Nicole nodded, but her expression remained serious. "It's beautiful, but I'm concerned about security. The Crackseed attack on Aquarius colony last month was just the beginning." William sighed. The Concordat Council removed Grand Admiral Klavatok from his position. "Surely that sends a message to any Crackseed extremists?" "I'm not convinced," Nicole replied. She was head of security for Europa, and her instincts had saved lives many times before. "My sources say there's a larger plot brewing. The Crackseed don't act alone. They have supporters in other species who fear our control of water worlds." In another part of the colony, Professor Jack Wilson was working on something that might change everything. His laboratory was filled with strange equipment and tanks of various sizes. Inside one tank, a non-human figure moved. Vendral, the insectoid scientist who had been rescued by Kevin Garcia years ago on Proxima B, emerged from the water wearing an unusual suit. She removed her helmet, her mandibles clicking with excitement. "The new breathing system works perfectly," she said. "I maintained oxygen levels for 30 minutes underwater." Jack smiled proudly. "The hybrid technology combines our underwater equipment with adaptations for your biology. Soon, aliens who could never enter water might be able to work alongside humans in these environments. My people will be amazed," Vendral said. "This could change thousands of years of fear." While humans and their alien allies made progress on Europa, darker forces were gathering. In hidden bases across the galaxy, the Crackseed Warmaster Gurthak was preparing for war. Gurthak was not simply afraid of human expansion. He hated the idea that the galaxy's future might belong to a species that evolved in what he considered a hostile environment. His plan was simple but deadly: destroy all human water colonies in a single coordinated attack. On Europa, the day started like any other. Children went to school in the central dome. Workers headed to the underwater farms and mining operations. Scientists continued their research on alien marine life. Commander Nicole Taylor was reviewing security footage when her assistant burst into the room. "Commander, our outer sensors have detected multiple ships approaching. They're not responding to hail signals." Nicole immediately activated the colony-wide alert system. "All citizens, this is a security alert. Report to your designated safety zones immediately." She contacted Governor Chen. "Sir, we have potential hostile forces approaching. I recommend we activate emergency protocols." Before the governor could respond, the first explosions hit the colony. The attackers had planted devices inside Europa's defenses. Alarms blared as water began leaking into several outer sections. "They're hitting us from inside and outside," Nicole reported, her voice steady despite the crisis. "This was planned. Long in advance." Governor Chen made the call. "Activate all emergency teams, authorize full defensive measures." Across the colony, trained response teams grabbed emergency gear and moved toward the damaged sections. Unlike the attack on Aquarius, this was not a simple bombing. It was a full invasion. Crackseed soldiers in specially designed water suits were cutting through the colony's outer walls. Their plan was to flood major sections, assuming this would kill the human inhabitants and force an evacuation. What they didn't expect was how quickly humans could adapt to a flooding environment. Nicole organized civilians into underwater evacuation groups. "Remember your training," she told families as they put on breathing masks. "Stay together, swim calmly, follow the lighted paths to the emergency shelters." Through security cameras, she could see the Crackseed soldiers moving through newly flooded sections, expecting to find dead or dying humans. Instead, they encountered organized resistance. Human security forces in lightweight diving gear moved through the water with natural ease, ambushing the invaders who struggled to maneuver in their heavy suits. In his laboratory, Professor Jack Wilson and Vendral heard the explosions. Water was already seeping under the door. "They're trying to drown the colony," Vendral said, her voice shaking with fear. Jack looked at the experimental diving suits they had been developing. "Not if we can help it. Get your suit on." Minutes later, they swam through the flooded corridors of the research wing. Jack carried a device that could seal breaches in the colony walls. Vendral, despite her instinctive fear of water, followed him bravely in her new suit. They weren't alone. A small group of alien scientists who had been learning to use the diving equipment joined them. It was an unprecedented sight. Humans and aliens swimming side by side through what should have been a death trap for non-humans. Governor William Chen coordinated the defense from the Central Command Center. "Status report," he demanded. "Sections 3 through 7 are completely flooded," his assistant reported. "But evacuation was successful. No casualties reported there." Chen nodded, relief visible on his face. "And the attackers?" "Commander Taylor's teams have neutralized 3 groups of Craxid soldiers, but more are coming." Outside the colony, a battle was taking place in the dark waters of Europa. Human patrol ships fought against Craxid vessels. The images were being transmitted across the galaxy. The Concordat Council watched in stunned silence as humans swam from damaged vessels, rescuing each other in an environment that would have meant certain death for most species. What impressed them even more was the footage of Professor Wilson's team. Aliens in experimental diving suits were helping humans fight back against the invaders. The sight of different species swimming together through flooded corridors became a powerful symbol. The battle for Europa lasted 12 hours. When it was over, the Craxid forces had been defeated. Their plan to drown the humans had completely backfired. Instead of panicking in the face of flooding, the humans had used the water to their advantage, moving faster and more efficiently than their attackers. In the aftermath, Governor Chen addressed the colony. Water still filled many sectors, but repairs were already underway. "Today we faced an enemy who thought our adaptation to water was a weakness to exploit," he said. "They were wrong. What they saw as our vulnerability is our greatest strength." The images from Europa spread across every world in the Concordat. The sight of humans calmly swimming through disaster, helping each other and even their alien allies navigate the flooded colony, changed perceptions forever. In the Concordat Council chamber, a new resolution was proposed. The water worlds that humans had settled would be officially recognized as under human protection. More importantly, a joint program would be established to help interested species learn to overcome their fear of water. The drowning gambit had failed. Instead of destroying human colonies, the attack had showcased humanity's unique place in the galaxy. As Professor Wilson had proven, even aliens could learn to move through water with the right technology and training. The future of the galaxy would be wetter than anyone had imagined. 10 years had passed since the Battle of Europa. The galaxy had changed in ways no one could have predicted when humans first met the galactic Concordat. What began as a curiosity, a species that could swim in water, had transformed into a new era of cooperation. Director Patricia Summers stood on the observation platform overlooking the vast underwater city of Nereus. This water world, 60 light-years from Earth, had become the center of the newly established Aquatic Worlds Development Consortium. Below her, humans and aliens moved through the crystal-clear waters. Some aliens wore the advanced breathing systems developed by Professor Wilson. Others used the newer models that allowed even the most water-fearful species to work underwater. "Quite a view, isn't it?" said a voice behind her. Patricia turned to see Ambassador Frank Anderson approaching. The veteran diplomat had spent 20 years fostering relationships between humans and alien species. His once brown hair was now mostly gray, but his eyes still held the same enthusiasm. "Sometimes I can't believe how far we've come," Patricia said. "Remember when they thought we were crazy for living near oceans?" Frank laughed. "Now they're lining up to learn how to swim." Below them, in one of the largest domes, Chief Instructor Andrew Harrison was teaching a class of alien students. 10 different species were practicing basic swimming movements in a large pool. Some wore specialized equipment, while others had undergone minor medical adjustments to help them function in water environments. Remember to relax, Andrew called out. The water will support you if you let it. A young Zexturian, its insect-like, body encased in a thin protective film, floated on its back. This would have been unthinkable to its ancestors. In another part of the complex, Zelmora was preparing for a historic mission. She belonged to a desert-dwelling species that had once considered large bodies of water to be death zones. Now she was the first alien graduate of the Advanced Underwater Operations Program. Systems check complete, she reported, inspecting her diving gear. The team is ready. Her team consisted of 7 aliens from different species and 3 human instructors. They were about to attempt the deepest dive ever recorded on Nereus, exploring an underwater trench that might contain valuable minerals. The expedition was being broadcast across the galaxy. In the Concordat Council chamber, representatives from over 30 species, more than had been members when humans first arrived, watched with interest. 10 years ago, none of us would have believed this possible, said the current Concordat leader, a tall, feathered being from a world of vast plains. A multi-species diving team led by someone whose ancestors feared puddles. The dive began smoothly. Zelmora and her team descended into the dark waters of Nereus. Special lights illuminated their path as they went deeper than any exploration team had gone before. At the halfway point, they discovered a cave system filled with glowing crystals. These weren't just beautiful. Initial readings showed they could store energy more efficiently than any known material. We're recording unprecedented energy signatures, Zelmora reported, her voice clear through the communication system. These crystals could revolutionize power storage across the galaxy. In the main control room, Patricia Summers and Frank Anderson watched the live feed with satisfaction. This was exactly the kind of discovery they had hoped for when establishing the consortium. One water world has just provided more valuable resources than a dozen desert planets, Frank observed. And we've barely explored a fraction of the water worlds out there. Patricia nodded. It's not just about resources. Look at what's happening culturally. She gestured to a screen showing statistics from across the Concordat. Thousands of alien children were now learning basic swimming skills. Aquatic tourism had become popular among species that once avoided water entirely. Art and entertainment increasingly featured underwater themes. We've helped them overcome one of their oldest fears, she said quietly. That's worth more than any mineral we could discover. Later that day, representatives from 23 species gathered for the inauguration of the new Interspecies Aquatic Research Center. The massive underwater facility would house scientists from across the galaxy, all working together to study and develop water worlds. Patricia stood at the podium, looking out at the diverse audience. Some wore water adaptation suits, others had special breathing apparatus. A few had undergone genetic modifications that allowed them to breathe underwater for short periods. 10 years ago, humans were alone in our comfort with water, she began. Today I see beings from worlds of desert, ice, and rock who have chosen to join us beneath the waves. This is not just about exploring new planets or finding resources. This is about expanding the boundaries of what we all thought possible. She gestured to the observation window, where the deep blue waters of Nereus stretched into the distance. There are millions of water worlds in our galaxy. Places once thought uninhabitable that could become homes for billions. Together we have turned what some saw as a limitation into our greatest opportunity. After the ceremony, Andrew Harrison took a small group of alien children for their first swimming lesson outside the training pool. These were the children of diplomats and scientists, born on dry worlds but growing up with a completely different perspective than their parents. One small alien child with blue scales looked nervous as Andrew helped her put on a breathing mask designed for her species. "Will I sink?" she asked, her translated voice trembling slightly. "No," Andrew said kindly. "You'll float. And if you get tired, I'll be right beside you." The child's parent watched from behind safety glass. Just 10 years earlier, they would have been horrified at the idea of their offspring entering water. Now they felt pride as their child took this brave step. Andrew led the children into the clear waters of a sheltered cove. At first, they stayed close to him, their movements hesitant. But soon, they began to relax. One by one, they discovered the joy of weightlessness. of moving in 3 dimensions rather than 2. The blue-scaled child was the last to let go of Andrew's hand. When she finally did, she moved her limbs as he had taught her and propelled herself forward through the water. "I'm swimming," she called out, her voice filled with wonder. Her parent pressed a hand against the glass, watching with eyes that held both fear and pride. Beside them stood an elderly member of their species, one who remembered the old days when water was only seen as death. "In my youth we avoided even small lakes," the elder said. "Now my grandchild swims in an alien ocean." Above them, through the clear dome of the colony, the stars were visible in Nereus's night sky, each point of light potentially another world waiting to be explored. Many would be dry, rocky places like those the concordate species had always favored. But thousands would be water worlds, once passed over, now full of promise. Humanity had found its place in the galaxy, not despite evolving on a water world, but because of it. And in sharing their adaptation rather than hoarding it, they had changed the course of galactic civilization forever. The water that once divided species now brought them together, one swimming lesson at a time.